What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi and Eric Sheetsaber. We're going to be talking through the division, the conference championship. I said almost the division championship again because I just want to relive last week.
Right.
We're trying to go for the repeat. It's totally impossible, but it'll be fun to try our best this week. And Sheets, any overall thoughts before we get into these games and one of our last football shows?
Well, first of all, as far as scheduling goes, I mean, do you want to like the NBA is only a 3-game slate, but I kind of want to do something. You know what I mean? I think I could be.
I'm going to go live for it later. That was
great. I'll go with you.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, that should be fine. Because last night I got 12th in the Monster again on FanDuel. I did
beautiful. I didn't even see that.
That like solved the it kept momentum going. I had the PJ Washington freaking runaway freight train. He had 59 fantasy points on FanDuel.
Wait, who did?
PJ Washington.
Oh, Washington again. It's just you got to keep running it, right?
And then Jalen Williams had 60. I had 12th without Jokic. And Jokic, man, that guy was just on another level last night. It was a perfect storm because he had like 80 going into like the fourth, and the other team like made enough of a comeback where he got his fourth quarter run. So he ended up at 98.5.
It was nuts, man. That was.
But I don't know if you saw it, but it's like the ultimate like cherry on top. Like he had like an incredible third quarter, and then like the last play of the third quarter, he hit a 90-footer.
I did see that. It was crazy. The guy's freaking amazing. I think it's absolutely absurd, and it was obviously my downfall of last night. I didn't get there.
Yeah.
But it was pretty great. It was a pretty wild slate, and that it wasn't like there was like good plays that were like less than 1% owned all over the place.
Yeah,
and it just was weird. All right. Well, with that said, do you want to pull up your screen and we can go through this?
I guess. Let me.
I can pull up mine if you want me to.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to really pull up. That's the only thing because it's only a 2-game.
Yeah, I'll just do it like this. Oh, I've got the wrong caption on this video, so that's my bad. I'm off to a slow start today, guys. Bear with me. Not my finest hour. All right, here we go. NFL. Here we go. Just do it. NFL. Where's my? Okay, so I'll just do that for right now. All right. So look, it is just a 2-game slate. This is very early runs that I've got here so far, and with a lot of tournament entries, and I'm still getting 100% of the Saquon. But let's talk about this first game first. What players are you high on? What are you into? What do you think of the game and all that?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like. It's supposed to be a little balmy around here. I don't know if it's going to be that bad as far as like weather goes. I don't know what's going to be in Kansas City, but listen, I mean, both teams. The AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game, so they're both going to be giving their best. I'm inclined to think that both games might actually play a little slow. That's just, I mean, obviously the Buffalo Kansas City game. If that thing like ticks off a little bit, it could explode. Mm-hmm. But Kansas City doesn't really play that way. I mean, they haven't in like a long time.
Right.
They like to control the atmosphere. Pound the rock, and you can pound the rock on Buffalo.
Well, we say they like that. They really don't run the ball at all anymore. They haven't run like more than 15 times, I think, in like 10 games or something.
But it's not like they like rush. You know what I mean? Like they're still very methodical. Kansas.
Yeah, it's like little 5-yard quick out plays.
Yeah. So and Kansas City's defense is tricky. So I do think that if I really had to guess which game was going to be higher scoring, I probably wouldn't even be able to guess. I mean, I think that I'm certainly rooting for Washington, if that means anything. And I'm not exactly sure who I'm rooting for in the Buffalo Kansas City game. I really don't have much of a rooting interest there. Obviously, it'd be nice to see Buffalo make it to the Super Bowl. And then it's also be nice to see Mahomes make it to 100 in a row or whatever. And he's getting so much freaking flack now because of the flopping and like the ref stuff. I'm almost kind of like into Kansas City now because everybody's whining so much.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, who gets the most penalties of any team in history, of any player in history? Josh Allen has the most. It's the most penalties called for him of any player in history, and it's by a lot more than Mahomes. It's not by a little; it's by a lot more. So these guys, it's the battle of the of somewhat the floppers and also guys who they know how to play with the game a little bit.
So Saquon Barkley is the best play. I mean, I don't think that it's that's particularly earth shattering. I think that if you lock in Saquon either organically or by hand, I'm not going to yell at you like in any version. Okay, he's just gonna. I haven't even looked at the projection really, but I presume he projects like 7 points higher than you know what I mean. Like
he's got the highest rushing projection I think of in the whole era. Nobody's ever had a higher rushing prop.
What is it? Is it 100?
131.5.
Oh my god,
it's pretty big. Yeah,
I can't even imagine. And the thing is that I do think that at the end of the day, if you actually get good weather, I think that Philly could put up a number, because you've had Philly playing some kind of fishy weather, and now Washington really hasn't played good defense pretty much the whole season, I guess.
I don't know about this. I think we're gonna have some different take. I think Washington's defense is awesome.
Really, I don't know about this.
They've been really really good. Detroit's gonna score on everybody, and even in that game, I still thought they were good. But they were dominant in like down the stretch of the season, I thought, and even the last time they played Philly, they were right there. So I'm a little more high on the Washington defense than maybe.
Well, I'll tell you something really interesting. So I mentioned that I had 91% of I have 91% of my initial builds on of Barkley. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is, the first lineup I pulled up of my list doesn't have him in it. It's like pretty funny, pretty funny.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a pretty unique thing. Like, so not only does this lineup not have Barkley, it's got the running back combination of Brian Robinson Jr. and Kareem Hunt.
That's wild.
That's winning. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not winning, but it's certainly going to be a unique one, I think. I'm actually glad I have stuff like that because I mean, listen, Barkley's going to be in the 2-game slate, 90 to 95, I think. I don't know that much, but I guess 77. I was saying 70 to 75, but maybe you're right. I'm
just guessing,
and for good reason, like he's. But then again, remember, when it gets down to that 1 yard line, the 2 yard line, remember when Hurts was kind of like in a little bit of pain and they couldn't run the tush push, it looked really bad. You know what I mean? Like they went backwards, like two plays in a row. So I think that they are going to go back to more, almost all like Hurts in short yardage, which could affect Barkley somewhat. Just trying to think of any reason to fade this. I can't really come up with one. Yeah,
Carmen in chat's pointing out make a good point. I'm probably biased with my Washington defense after they won me the million last week. Yeah, they were the most unique thing I had, which like
I suppose. Yeah.
So I think I'm a little biased, possibly. I was just looking at through my exposures and just going through everything. So like at quarterback, at the moment, I'm higher on Mahomes than I am on anybody else, and I actually don't mind that as a take. It just feels a little wrong. I thought he'd be actually lower. If he's really going to be higher owned, I think we want the running quarterback just for the rushing touchdown upside.
Well, who's the running quarterback?
All three of the other ones.
I think you don't think Mahomes can get.
Oh, yeah, he can move. He can get you his 20-yard scrambles. He doesn't run for. I think what does he have? One rushing touchdown. And all these guys are like 3 of the top 4 in the NFL.
Yeah, I get it.
So it feels like the right thing to do. And these are just my first runs. This is not going to be my final build. You guys will see my stuff later today when I fine tune it. But like, I think the right thing is to do. I think Jaden Daniels and I think Jalen Hurts I think it's going to be lower ownership than he's projected, because of again, we talk about perception all the time, but it's not like Hurts is doing nothing because he's had the good games on the ground. I think Jalen Hurts and Daniels and Allen. My guess is I end up higher on them and under on Mahomes. That's just where I'm at right now.
I have this. I'm like kind of. I don't know whether I'm happy about this or not happy about this. I'm pretty spread out if there is such a thing, like at quarterback this week. Like my highest owned of the four is Mahomes at only like 31%.
Yeah.
You know, I got, and my lowest owned is Hurts at like 19. You know what I mean? So I got some of everything here, but because you know what? They all have upside, and they're all really, really good,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I listen, I really don't mind this type of exposure.
Yeah, I think that I think it makes sense. And the thing is, I have, I first of all, I think Washington should not. I think these are too big of dogs. I think they're totally can win this game, and I actually think I might bet on them to win the game. I really like Washington in this spot, and I think playing Daniels. I think I'm going to talk myself into the Daniels thing by the end of the week. If not, it's probably going to be one of Hurts or Allen. I guess it's just because Mahomes is cheaper on DraftKings. That's why I'm getting to it. But as you can see, even with 205 lineups, I averaged out Sheets and Goldie's projections. I had to make one adjustment, so I adjusted Saquon to 26. Saberson's got him at 26.7. Maybe I just adjust him down to 25 and see if that makes a difference. Because I'd like to try something different. It's really hard to justify how to do it. So I think if you're not going to play him, I guess Eckler and Cook are my next favorites. But I was sort of surprised that I didn't get like some weirdness here, because they're let me just get to my value section here. And again, we're still looking at this from an early perspective, but I actually don't think it's the wrong idea to try and take a shot, even on the 2-game slate. Now, they're certainly going to be viable in showdown, but on some of these other guys for Buffalo, I would like to take a shot with at least getting a couple percentage of Ray Davis.
Sure.
Look, he had a touchdown last week. What if he almost got it another time?
Yeah.
Imagine if he puts up 13 fantasy points, he could be the second highest scoring running back on the slate.
Ty Johnson.
And Ty Johnson is the other one, but I prefer Ray Davis because he's had a couple of decent weeks. We saw him with was that Ty? I think he had the catch in the back of the end zone against Denver as well, or was that Ty Johnson? I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Ty Johnson as well. I personally like Ray Davis a little bit better. And I think Samaje Perine is totally in play.
Oh my! Yeah, I don't know if I can get down there, but yeah.
Well, we've seen him though play. He plays on third down. He's going to be catching the ball. If you play the angle that the Bills are ahead, he's going to be or the 2-minute drill and all that. He gets in there sometimes, even with Pacheco and Hunt. I'm not saying to get a huge percentage, but to get a couple percentage of each of these guys, including Kenneth Gainwell, is probably the right thing to do. Right? Like just to get a little bit different.
And remember, it is only a 2-game slate.
2-game slate. You just got to get the 10 fantasy points.
By the way, not to go back, I was just because I'm thinking about it. Did you see who smashed yesterday in the NBA?
No.
Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I don't actually know how many fantasy points he ended up with, but I know he hit like 7 threes or something like that.
Yeah, he had like 30, I think, or something. It was.
I filled it. I mean, you know what I mean. I basically announced that he should be retired, and that. But I've been announcing it for like 3 weeks now.
That's true, but it is pretty funny because you knew it was going to happen at some point. And the weird part is he still ended up oddly like kind of chalky on FanDuel.
So, well, exactly.
It just happens. Somehow they know Sheets.
So I right now, running back wise, after Barkley, once again, I'm a little. I guess I'm spread out. So I have 29% Cook and 29% Brian Robinson, and then kind of a drop. I only have like 20% Pacheco, 18% Eckler, 18% Hunt. Right now, I don't have any of the reserves. But again, like you, I just did a very, very initial run, and. We'll see. I definitely think it's healthy to play at least the Ray Davis. And I will say this, that all the guys you mentioned are super live in showdown.
Yeah.
That's sure. And they're all sort of explosive, I guess. You know what I mean? Ty Johnson is really explosive. P.Y.'s not explosive, but he's like catching balls.
You can catch like 4 or 5 passes on a drive if things.
Yeah. And Davis, obviously, he had a touchdown and he was threatening for another one. Eckler, I don't know what he's going to really do, but I mean, I have him, but I don't.
I like the Eckler if you play the Eagles from a head game.
Yeah. Oh, maybe
because he's going to be pass catching out of the backfield, and I like that. I got to, as I always seem to, almost know Brian Robinson, but at this low ownership, that's the most of the quote unquote like of the starting running backs that we probably should be looking at.
Right.
When the ownership gets down to that close to 10%, I think we should be taking looks at guys like that. For what it's worth, I like Robinson better than I like Pacheco at the moment. And I like Hunt better than I like Pacheco. And I think I like Robinson as much as I like Hunt. So I'm just going to have to adjust my ownership and my projections a little bit later just to try.
Who's your top wide receivers?
So this is the thing that is going to change drastically for me, because I know what the right thing is to do is to play against perception. Now, it's not that people aren't going to play AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, but I don't think people will do a Philly stack with both of them. So I will personally hand build at least a couple of my lineups with a Devontae Smith and AJ Brown with Hurts, because I think that combination is going to be actually very, very low owned. So that was one thing I thought of. At the moment, I'm getting Worthy the most. Look, Hollywood Brown, we only have 2 games, but the guy literally, he didn't have a target. The only receiver who had a target for KC last week was Worthy.
No. Hold on a minute. So Hollywood Brown, I don't know whether it was considered a target or not.
Oh, he might have got a target. Okay, sorry, he didn't have a catch.
It was like a 60-yard bomb that he either got called back or something. You know what I mean? Like, I forget what it was. If you look it up, you'll find it. It was something where, oh my God, I don't have Hollywood Brown. Oh, no problem. You know what I mean? It was something where it was either a drop. It wasn't a drop. I think it was like a penalty or an interference. There was maybe offensive pass. There was something where I was really like, oh, F. You know what I mean? Like, why do we not have Hollywood Brown? And it reminded me to make sure to play Hollywood Brown. So I currently am like you. Actually, my top wide receiver is McLaurin. At 50, like 50%. Yeah. And then Worthy next. And then listen, I'll tell you who I think I'm a little over on. So we'll get to that in a minute. I think Shakir is like legit, like the clear number 1 target for Josh Allen now. So I got my bunch of that, bunch of Antonio Brown. I think the De'Ami Brown thing is real. I'm still pretty heavy on him. I like Hollywood Brown. The guy I think too much of. I hate to call this guy dead, but I think having 40% of Hopkins is too much. I don't think that obviously he's not what he was.
Right.
I almost think that he doesn't exist right now. I have no reason really to say that, but whenever I'm watching and I need him and whatever, he just doesn't seem like he's getting, I don't know.
Like I said, only one receiver had a catch. That's the part that I know. Only one receiver had a catch for Kansas City last week, and that was Worthy.
So having 40% of Hopkins is kind of rough. I don't know if
Seems like a lot.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the guys. So the chalky, Worthy, and Brown, I'm fine with. But I'd like to find some different things. I will probably be overweight. What I think this is probably an ambitious projection on the Philly receivers. I actually don't think they'll be as high owned. I'd like to be. I think by the end of the day, McLaurin's going to be my highest owned as well.
Okay.
But I also think that I will make sure to go out of my way to be overweight Keon Coleman.
Ooh.
I'm totally. I think everything is different. We can't treat every week the same. Josh Allen threw for 130 yards last week or something, 124 yards. I don't think we should just assume that that's going to be the case here. And I like the idea of trying to get low ownership on his receivers, even though from a logic standpoint, if you watch the games, but the other one who keeps not showing up, but we know he has upside and won everything the week before. Why aren't we playing some Curtis Samuel? And I will even take some stabs and go as far as to say play a little Amari Cooper. I think you want to get creative on these 2 gamers because really it could just come down to the touchdown variance. And Amari has 2, but for 50 and a touchdown, that's probably good enough.
So I'm going to throw a little bias into the mix too, and tell you who I'm going to have like a decent amount of, not a decent amount, but whatever. So here's like kind of a trivia question. I've mentioned it really briefly. I don't even think I mentioned it to you, but not last week, but just before the new year, I went to the World FIDE Chess Blitz Championships in the city. I had been to like a big time chess like a long time, and I stayed the whole day. It was like literally like amazing. We got to hang out with like literally the best chess players in the world. They had the VIP tickets and the whole thing. It was awesome. It's so much fun. And I was like sick the whole day, but whatever. And there was a guy that was there who was a huge chess fan. Now the one that everybody knew about was Wembanyama. Like he's like known as like a chess guy.
Yeah.
And he actually was in the city, like playing at the park or whatever, and people caught that, was filming and tweeting it. But there was a guy that was actually at the tournament all day, like sweating and talking about the chess and talking about the games and playing chess, whatever. And nobody really knew who he was, but I did, and I eventually other people caught on. Mac Hollins was actually
really?
the whole day grinding at the chess tournament.
Did he have shoes on?
In New York City.
That's
pretty
crazy.
amazing, right? And
that's really amazing.
And they eventually caught up with him and interviewed him, like whatever. But it's a guy that walks around, and who knows who Mac Hollins is? You know what I mean?
Right. But except for he doesn't wear shoes in general. That's the thing about him. I wonder if he wears shoes.
I don't even know that. But here he's just like some other guy, just hanging out, just at the chest, whatever. So anyway, so I'm getting like, some of that. I mean, like Mac Hollins, what am I getting? Like 7%, something like that. What about tight end? You like Kelsey best or no?
I do, but I actually think that all the tight ends have an excellent case. I like Noah. I want to get over the field on Noah Gray. I'm just going to.
Oh, that's strong.
Because we look, how many games have we seen this year where it's been Noah Gray also, and he's always involved. But it's Kelsey. It's Kelsey time of the year right now. My current exposures are trying to fade him because that's where they're getting different. I'm going to make sure I'm not below 22 on him, and I don't mind in football because like you could leave money. There's all kinds of ways to play these 2-game slates. You don't necessarily need to leave the 9,000 it starts off with. That's why I bumped it up a little bit because I'm making some edits to some players. But remember, like a guy with like 9 fantasy points might be good enough to be in the winning lineup of everything this week if things break a certain way. And I'm kind of leaning the anti way that everyone else is. I kind of like the Washington Philly game to potentially be the higher scoring of the two.
I agree. I think I agree with that.
Yeah, it makes sense it makes sense just because Washington has the ability to play fast. The only thing with Washington is their offense is when it's clicking. They have that drive against Detroit that just took them out of the game. It was like a 15-play drive, but it lasted like forever, and it just made it so Detroit couldn't come back at all. Then they also go for the bombs, too. So it just really depends on which way it goes. I just think I think double tight end is and should probably be their build. I'm just gonna take a look at my flex exposure, and yeah, you can see I've got Kelsey. Jesus is funny. Kelsey shows up 12% for me at tight end, but 65% in the flex, which means it's double tight end for me almost everywhere.
My top owned right now happens to be Kincaid, but all 4 of these guys, Kincaid, Kelsey, Goddard, Ertz, like all are over 30. I mean, I think that a huge amount of my lineups are double tight end, are double tight end builds here.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be the natural way to go. So I like. I mean, obviously Kelsey. As I mentioned, I had 75% of them, so he's my favorite. But I prefer Goddard to Ertz if I can do that. Let me just do this so I make sure because I don't want to be below the field on Goddard. I think this is actually a matchup he could have a big day in. And I also would like to be ahead of the field on Ertz. So it's going to be tight end. You know what? I'm doing the wrong thing. Shoot. I have to do it from over here. I have to do it from the other screen. This is terrible.
What did you do?
Back to my player exposures because I should be doing it from all, not from the position because it messes with.
That's right. That's right.
So let me just reset all this. All right. I'll fix it after this. And I still have more studying to do because look, it's one thing, last week was amazing and it's not going to happen again. But if there's one week I'm going to play a little bigger on a 2-game slate and showdown, this is the week. So I'm going for it a little bit this week.
Yeah, sure.
A couple questions coming in.
Wait, before we do that, defense.
Yeah.
I currently have what I would imagine is the chalk, I guess. I have the Eagles as the highest owned right now. And then the Chiefs. And then, wow, a big drop to Bills in Washington. That doesn't seem I would say it doesn't seem right, but that's just what I'm getting right now. I don't just like even the same as kind of a main slate. I don't know why I need to take such a huge stand for or against anybody here.
Right.
So I'm going to probably manually scrunch that up.
Well, the lowest owned and cheapest defense won all the money last week, so
I am aware.
why not again at low ownership again? I think that's what I'm going to call my favorite defense. And if it wasn't my favorite defense, I have to at least. I mean, it has to be my favorite defense. They just won me more money than I've made.
But to be honest with you, I don't think, maybe this is a hot take. I don't think any defense scores over 10 this week.
Oh, I don't think it's a hot take.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just think that you have four like super. Let's call him what he is with Jaden Dan. You have four superstar quarterbacks like running the shows out here. You know what I mean? Like I don't really think there's that big mistakes are particularly live here. You know, I don't think that. I think these quarterbacks are going to get protected, and you know what I mean. I don't know. I feel as though it's going to be like 7, 8, 6, 7. To that point, why not take the lowest owned? You know, it's going to be like
lowest owned, exactly.
If Washington will get 8 and the Chiefs will get 7, you know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's good enough for me. It's like
right.
Then you save a little money, right? And can you buy other stuff with it? I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and that's sort of what my take is. Take the lowest owned, and also I think if you see a bad game, it's not. We know it's not like, look, maybe Mahomes will get one mistake or a sack or two or something like that. He just doesn't have it happen much. Jalen Hurts, you can sack Jalen Hurts. The Rams came out and sacked him 1,000,000 times last week, and if they're forced to throw the ball, he's also prone to making big mistakes. So I actually do think that there's logic behind the Washington defense, not just the fact that they're the lowest owned. And then the other logic one is, hey, look, maybe a back to earth moment for Daniels. Although I have to say, going back to his last year in college, I don't think he's had a back to earth moment in 2 years. So I don't know. Maybe this is just.
What's he on in college?
LSU. He won the Heisman.
Okay.
He transferred from Arizona State a few years back.
Well, I'll tell you another thing that you might, or not, but someone might consider, given what I just said about the defenses. You could pull like the old MMA trick that I talk about sometimes. So, what are the Chiefs? The Chiefs are what price? 3,100.
Chiefs are 3,100.
3,100. And who's the Chiefs? Are they the most expensive?
No, the most of the Eagles are.
What's their price?
33. It's pretty close.
So my point is that if you have the Commanders at 2,700, if you build like your lineups, okay. And then you get lineups with, say, the Chiefs or the Eagles or any of those, and just literally swap those for Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you leave 400 on 500 on the table. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Get yourself unique really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we're only talking about in my world like 2 points.
Right.
Two. You know.
Right.
So I think that's very. That's a very sneaky thing that, again, I don't really ever do in football, but maybe with this one particular situation, again, I don't, as we're going to discuss again, I don't really care who my defense is paired with, as you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a totally separate contest, who scores the most defensive fantasy points. I don't think it has almost anything to do with what's else going on in the game.
I will say in my hand builds that I will take it. So partly the builds last week, that was partly what made me unique. Also, it wasn't because, again, only 110,000 people, 6% play, but everybody else in double digits. But if you had to have the Commanders defense with the Commanders, just Brown and McDaniels. The trick is that nobody plays their defense with their quarterback or against their quarterback. Usually on these 2-game slates, I think you really should go out of your way to try to, for you hand builders out there. I really think it makes sense because it just is going to differentiate you from what all these sims are going to give you. They are not going to put those together hardly ever.
Here's an awesome little trick. So wait, so what's the Chiefs? The Chiefs are 31, and what are the Bills?
Chiefs are 33.
Chiefs, it looks like, are 31 actually, right?
What am I looking at? No, they're 30. They're 33. Oh, I'm sorry, the Chiefs. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Chiefs are 31. Yeah, the Eagles are 33.
And what are the Bills? The Bills are
29.
Okay, so for example, okay, like let's say you have. Oh, I thought people might share my screen. I'm not, but so let's say I'm. Let me share my screen for just a second. I just want to show you what I'm talking about here.
I'll stop mine.
So let's say that this is like my exposure. Look on the right. Okay, so on the right, I have 40% Eagles, 37% Chiefs, 12 and 11. I'm like, ooh, I don't want that. So one thing I could do legitimately is if let's say I just want to get like 25% of all of them, I'll take 15% of my Eagles lineups and literally straight swap them for the Commanders. Okay. And so that'll get me my 25 of both of them. And those that I've swapped are going to be freaking the nuts. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a unique. Yes, exactly.
And likewise here, I'll take like 12% of my Chiefs, that are, and make sure that they're maxed out in salary. You know what I mean? Like make sure that whatever, and then just swap them for the Bills and eat the 200, right? Yeah. You're costing yourself, you're costing yourself a little bit of lineup construction efficiency because when you're building with SaberSim, it is kind of like trying to correlate defenses with running backs and even on 2-game slates and trying not to play too many defenses against them. So you're giving up a little bit of that, but I think you're making up for it in uniqueness, So I think that's actually a pretty. I actually just might do that. So
I like that idea, and anything you could do to get unique on a 2-game slate, I think, is a pretty good idea within reason. That certainly is reasonable.
Yep.
I'm going to just throw out a few of these questions here. So random question: when I'm playing a low stakes 20 max and then a high stakes single entry, does SaberSim use the ownership for each respective contest? I've noticed it always selected as flagship MME. It doesn't always select as flagship MME for me. If you're running the contest sims, it actually does appropriate them into each respective contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see the person's screen.
Yeah. So sorry, AJ. Like I've looked at it for me, and it appropriates them to the respective contests every time.
Well, let me share my screen.
But it might depend on what package you have with SaberSim.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, because there are the contest sims aren't available except for the upper level package.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So that's yeah.
So for example, I'll just show you. I mean, hello. So let me just fire this up. Let me see. So within the contests here, yeah, I mean it's all specified, and then if we were going to run them here, under direct fill, yeah, it would sort it directly by contest sims. It's literally specifies which one that you want to fill. So I don't know the answer.
Yeah. And then Depot's asking, with double tight ends being common, would you want a third receiver or pass catching back? I absolutely, totally. I think that's a viable way to go. But I happen to really like the tight ends, and especially throw in the cold weather. We've seen the tight ends be extremely productive so far in this postseason. I don't think it changes this week. Do we think KC plays a tighter rotation or just keep plugging all different receivers? No, the Chiefs will never change anything.
No.
They haven't. We shouldn't even have to ask questions about the Chiefs because they're in the Super Bowl every year. So we already know what they do, and they don't change anything ever.
I predict that Kelsey will get some targets. That's my prediction.
I don't think Hurts wants to prove anything or that has anything to do with it. If they're going to try to throw the ball just so they can open up the run, that's my take.
No. This is the conference championship games. We're beyond narrative street at this point. You know what I mean? Like we're just trying to win. You know what I mean? Like trying to win.
I don't know. Did you run the contest sims, AJ? AJ, if you're having trouble, hit me up in the Discord, and hit me up in the Discord, and I'll try to help you out as soon as I can. Because that shouldn't be happening. So, or
if you want, AJ, if you could figure out how to do it, like record a video of yourself doing it, and then post like the YouTube video again, like if you know how to do that, and then we'll take a look at it. We'll try that.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. We actually had a guy who, Young Goddess, shout out to him. He was showing us how he was mass slate swapping on his phone, and building on his phone. He was doing it on his phone. I honestly watched the video and I still have no idea how I would do it myself. But it was very impressive. And the Saber guys will have a better answer probably than we will. So
that's for sure.
Yeah, that's probably the right way to go. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to get out of here, but we'll be live at 1 Eastern on Sunday, and let's make some money this weekend. Let's keep the train rolling. Sheets has been on fire with the NBA. I obviously had a great week last week at the NFL. Hopefully, one of you or us will be at the top again this week. So, anything else, Sheets, before we get out of here?
Nah, sounds good.
All right. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.